The Xbox Series S has a laughable amount of storage, 364 gigs of internal storage, even though it's advertised to have 512. Yes, the system takes up that much. The Xbox Series X, though it does have 1 terabyte of advertised internal storage, loses a bunch down to 802 of usable storage by the user. So you ask yourself the question, with an all-digital console like this, did you make a mistake? And the answer is no, because storage options nowadays are many. And I want to break down the 3 major storage options that you're able to dive into and which one is the most cost effective. Yo, my name is Julien Melnick and welcome back to the Console Gaming Channel. That's right, button mashers, thumbstick thrashers, here to have a good time playing video games. Let's dive right into this Series S. Well, first and foremost, 364 gigs of usable storage is tough, especially with games being so unbelievably large. You're asking yourself, well, what do I do? Download a game, delete, download a game, delete. My internet is terrible and it's gonna take me days just to update to the latest version. And I'll tell you right now, if you just use the hardware itself, the Xbox itself with no external storage, that is gonna be your life. But I would go as far to say that even with the larger 1 terabyte that you can get in your Series X, again, 802 usable, you're still gonna run into issues like that because games are large. The 3 options you have are solid state drive, SSDs, popular and becoming less and less expensive. Proprietary memory cards made by Seagate, multiple options there. And lastly, the option that I've chosen, and honestly I'm sticking to, the good old fashioned hard disk drive or spinning disk drive. These are by and large the least expensive ways of getting external storage. This is a 5 terabyte drive, often on sale for close to $100, if not 120 bucks. 5 terabytes, ladies and gentlemen. Now it does come with a trade-off, and that trade-off is transfer speeds. But let me ease your heart a little bit, because transfer speeds are not at all affected by your internet connection. So let me explain what that looks like. Say you download multiple games and you need to transfer a game off of your external hard drive onto your internal storage space, because that game, and I'll get into this more in a second, requires it to be stored locally. Well, whereas before, if you didn't have this and you were simply just going to reinstall it from the Xbox store or wherever you're getting it from, Game Pass, what have you, it would take an exceptional amount of time, even if you do have very high speed internet. Like myself, I have gigabit internet and it still takes a good amount of time. Chances are, if you're going to be playing video games, you're sitting there going, I'm gonna play this one, and you know you're gonna sit down and play that. Transfer the game on, you're good to go. You wanna play a different game that requires it to be stored locally, and you can do the same. And that way, when you want to store games, you then do something that I did when I first got this, and that was each evening I decide which game do I want to take off of the store or off Game Pass and keep locally for myself, and I just download one each evening. And that way, overnight, I don't have to deal with the internet issue because my internet's doing its thing while I'm sleeping. Or you can do the same while you're at work. Well, the reason why I said that you have to transfer games over to the Xbox Series S is now they're optimizing games for the Xbox Series X and Series S, which is really exciting because that means that optimization's taking place, potentially quick resume, and all the different features that come with this current gen. Well, when talking about that specific thing, the optimization, those games need to be stored locally. And there's only one storage option that allows you to play directly off of that storage option, even if it requires local storage. And that is going to be, surprise, surprise, the proprietary Seagate memory cards, which are very expensive. Very expensive. Now you can't go in here and install just a normal SSD. You have to use their memory cards, which is another conversation for another time. So that is the only option you can use to use internal storage off of external storage, if that makes any sense. The last option is the SSD. And while SSDs are becoming more and more affordable, I still don't personally see the benefit. Yes, the games can be stored on there and they load slightly faster if you're able to play the game directly off the hard drive itself or SSD, because SSDs just run faster. They don't have any hard disks moving. They don't have to go in manually to search for anything physically. It's all there and ready to go. Now, without getting into the nerdy tech specs, because personally, I don't think that jargon is necessary, let's just break it down super simply. The proprietary memory cards allow you to play games that are both optimized for the Series X and Series S with the little logo, and just plain old regular games that can be played off of anything. Both can be played off of that external storage. SSDs. They allow you to play games directly off of the SSD if it is not specifically optimized for the Series X and Series S. Now, I will say that few games are still able to do that, but it seems to be less and less as time goes on. But yes, if the game does not have the optimized for Series X and S logo on the cover art, it's safe to say you can play that directly off of the SSD. If it does and is required to be played off of internal storage, then at that point you will have to transfer manually the game from the SSD over to the Series S, and you're good to go. Back and forth, no problem. Saves and all that stuff happens in the cloud, so you don't have to worry about losing those. Lastly, the spinning disk hard drive, the least expensive option, is, well, the same as the SSD, except load times may be slightly longer if you decide to play a game that is able to be played directly off of the hard drive, and also transfer speeds may be slower. My recommendation still sticks with this right here, because chances are the games that are most important to you are already on this. And unless you're getting the proprietary memory stick, you're going to have to play the transfer game. And games often are played in multiple sessions. So transferring a game on and off, especially if it's a large single player game, really shouldn't be an issue. You could save yourself hundreds of dollars by just getting a large 5 terabyte external drive like this versus a 1 terabyte drive that you might find for SSD. Yes, this 5 terabyte hard drive is indeed the same price as a 1 terabyte SSD, at least a mid-tier SSD. You get into the high tiers, all bets are off. You're talking multiple $100s. Again, don't think that there's anything wrong with that, but it's just not necessary. So I hope that answered a bunch of questions. If you have more questions, there's potential that I've answered it in this playlist with a bunch of Series S videos. But if it's not there, still ask it below so I can make another video to answer it for you guys. This is based on questions I've been getting a lot in the comments, so I want to answer it right now. That being said, I think that we're good here, and as always, happy gaming.